vlog. Of course, I am J.adelle, and May is the month of mental health awareness. 1 in every 5 adults are diagnosed with a mental health disorder, and unfortunately, over 54% of the population go undiagnosed. I actually had a mental health crisis this month, and I wanted to sit down and be open and honest and transparent with you guys about my experience. It is my hope to inspire others to talk about their story or to just know that they're not alone. But with all that being said, let's jump right into it. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. May, again, is the month of mental health awareness, and I wore green because green is the color for mental health awareness. And so let's go ahead on and get into the story of how I had to have a Grippy sock vacation. I'm telling this story for several reasons. I was looking up a lot of research in regards to mental health, and 1 out of every 5 people are diagnosed with mental health issues. And then I also saw that it stated 2/3 of people globally do not seek treatment for their mental health condition. And over half, 54% of adults, do not receive treatment for their mental health issues. So I wanted to do this to, 1, bring awareness, 2, help people to see, whoever comes across my blog, to see that they are not alone, and then 3, to open my mouth. Especially in the color community, the people of color community, we don't really speak about it. It's taboo. There's a lot of things that are said, get over it, you're doing this for attention. There's so many negative things that come about the topic of mental health. So I wanted to stop, sit down, tell you guys my story, because May was just crazy for me, and not let my voice be silent. I have been fearful for a few weeks of saying it, but I'm no longer going to be afraid. People are going to say what they're going to say anyway. So I'm going to tell my story, and hopefully it will enlighten some, and hopefully it'll help others get the help that they need, seek the help that they need. So let's start at the beginning of May. This month, well, let's start at the beginning of 2023. This year has been really rocky for me, and I was trying to shake it off. I was really, really trying to shake it off. I had a psychiatrist. I didn't have a therapist, because my therapist that I did have, they went out of practice. So I didn't have a therapist, but I had a psychiatrist, and they kind of listen to you the same way as a therapist is. They just can prescribe you medication. So in the last vlog that I made when I first introduced Hendrix, my dog, was that I was diagnosed with type 1 bipolar, generalized anxiety disorder, depression, and ADHD. So talked to my psychiatrist about all of that. And it was like an up and down. My job is like my top, of the top 2 stresses, is like one of the top 2 stresses in my life. Me and my supervisor have been button heads literally since I got the job, and it's just gotten progressively worse. Me and her would go at it so bad that it would instantly send me into a manic episode, and manic means I'm really, really high. I'm the opposite of depressed, and it was just it was crazy. It was too much going on. And so I ended up getting an ADA accommodation, American Disabilities Association accommodation, and she just decided that she was going to retaliate. So all of that just was building up. Work was piling up. I mean, y'all, I was getting on my computer, and I work from home. I was on my computer from like 7 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock at night, 8 to 12. Like, I was just working crazy hours. I was tired. I was exhausted. And then there were other things in my life that was causing a great deal of stress. In March, I actually had a week where I disassociated from reality for 7 days, I think. Yeah, 7 days. The first day, it was a Sunday, I remember just crying my eyes out, and I laid down. And when I laid down, I woke up, it was that following Monday. So I had slept that Sunday night, that whole week, and I woke back up on Monday. And the reason, funny enough, how I figured it out is because I had went out of town and I had my dad watch Hendrix. And so when I went to go pick him up, he was like, Hendrix was like all jumpy and clingy. And in my head, I'm like, Hendrix, why are you so clingy? I literally just saw you 3 days ago. And my dad was like, no, you saw him 7 days ago. And I was like, Daddy, I dropped him off Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And he was like, no, that was last week, Janae. So I was like, okay. So I get to the house. I asked the guys, and they were like, no, you were in your room for a week. You don't remember it? I remember nothing about it. Of course, I got to use the restroom, but I don't remember eating. They said that they came and tried to speak to me. I don't remember any of that. I think it was my dresser. It was either my dresser or my bed. He needed to be fixed, need to be put together for my kid, and I was sleeping. It was one of the two. And so yeah, I just woke up and I remembered absolutely nothing about it. Funny enough, the only thing I do remember, and I have a clip of it, but I'll have to find it, is I was talking and I was explaining how my mental health had been going bad, and I was like, during that time of me disassociating, I felt like it felt like it was an out-of-body experience where I felt like I was looking at myself on my bed just in fetal position. It was really dark. So if anything, that's the only thing that I remember. So that was in March. So April comes along, goes, first week of May comes, going about the day, working, stress. So May the 8th comes around. And so, I take that back. That previous Thursday came about, and me and my supervisor, we had several conversations, of performance issue conversations that she brought about with me, her supervisor, and her supervisor. And after that, she just continued to find ways to make sure that she could use something against me to get me fired, now that my accommodation was up, because I was eligible for FMLA. So I was stressed out. So on that Thursday, I messaged the vice president and I said, hey, because I had already had a meeting with her. I was like, hey, I'm stressed out. I need to take a mental health day. I can't take, my supervisor and everything that she's doing. Will you allow it? So she says yes. So she says yes, and she said, I'll tell your supervisor. So that pissed my supervisor off. So when I came in on that Monday, it was just all hell had broken loose on my desk. I mean, she was sending me emails after emails. I mean, very passive aggressive messages. I'm trying to hurry up and do things, and she's just sending everything my way on purpose because she's done it before, and I have all of it logged. Now, then after that, some other things kind of played into effect and throughout the day, and I just completely lost it. I had enough. I had a breakdown. I was crying. I was inconsolable. James tried to help me, and I was inconsolable. There was nothing anyone could do to or say to me at that time that would get me to calm down. I'm literally like crying my eyes out. And so I called my aunt, and I was like, hey, I need you to take me to the hospital. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired. And so she was like, are you sure? And I was like, I'm sure. I need you. So she wasn't in Atlanta. I didn't know that. So she was like, okay, well, this is what I want you to do. Hang up, call 911, and call me back. I called 911. They sent me the voicemail. That was my 13th reason, because I didn't even know 911 could send you the voicemail, but they absolutely did. They definitely sent me the voicemail. So I called her back. So now I'm crying even more, because I'm like, bro, how are you the emergency line and you didn't even answer me? So I called her back, and I was like, they sent me the voicemail. So she got my address, and she sent a welfare check to me. So within she called me back, and within 7 minutes, a police officer was at my door. The officer's at my door. He's asking me what's going on. I'm literally crying and just like I'm out of it all. And I'm so proud of my baby. He is my service animal. People think that because of his size, he can't do a job, but he did his job. He executed his job the way he was supposed to. When the officers got here, I was crying. Hendrix stayed on me. He scratched and gnawed to get me to focus on him. He paid no, mind you, Hendrix is a very friendly dog. Hendrix paid no attention to any of the commotion that was going around. His sole focus was on me, and I'm so proud of my baby. So, you know, they're talking to me, they're asking me questions, you know, about SI and if I have a plan for the SI, and, you know, they're asking all these normal questions. And so I was like, yeah, no, I can't do it anymore. I just, you know, so they said, okay, well, we're going to take you to the hospital. I was like, okay. So now by this time, now I'm trying to get things moving together. And so now I'm still crying, but I'm not crying as hard. So Hendrix is like, okay, maybe I can start talking to him. And then also one of the officers started to talk to him. So he started to react that way. But I came back up. I got a few things, put it in a bag that I had, which they never gave me my bag back. But I put a bag that I had, and I was waiting for James to come back to the house. So I put Hendrix in the cage because I was trying to get my stuff together and trying to keep Hendrix from going and bothering them while I was gathering my things. So I put him in his crate, and then we walk out. Oh, I'm sorry. Then the fire department came. They took my blood pressure. It was 153/95, which is very high. I've never had which is high for me. I never had it that high. So I went to the hospital, and when I got there, via ambulance, you know, I'm sorry. Before that, I got an ambulance. They asking the questions. Now the EMTs get out the van and they're talking to the fire department. They're talking to the police officers to get report. All while this is going on, the police officer tells the EMT, hey, you know you're rolling? And he was like, what? And it was like, you know you're rolling, right? And then it was like, huh? The ambulance, you guys, was literally rolling backwards. So now all you see is that police officer, the firefighters, the EMTs, all of them are trying to run to jump into the driver's seat and stop the car, stop the ambulance, all while I'm in the back, buckled in. My 14th reason. So I get to the hospital, and they take me out all my clothes that I came in, and they put me in these paper scrubs. And they took my blood, and then they just set me there. They took out everything out of the room and gave me a blanket, and I just sat there. And so initially I tried to lay down because I had a headache from crying so much, but then I was like, I can't do this. So I just sat up, literally just as I'm sitting down, my feet were planted on the floor. I had the blanket wrapped around me, and I was and of course the door's open because they got to keep an eye out on you. And I was just focused, I was an empty shell. By the time I got to the emergency room, I was an empty shell. There was nothing in me. I had nothing left to give. And so I was just sitting there. And so I don't know, there was no clocks in there. So I had no idea of time frame. I just know I was sitting in there. I was sitting in the hospital for a while. So at one point in time, a tech walks past, and because I'm just stuck in this position, she was like, are you okay? And I just had the strength to go. She was like, okay. And so then she walks away. So I don't know how long passed. Again, no clocks. Two people, one on my left and one on my right, started to yell. Both of them are yelling and screaming and yelling and screaming. And so I was like, yo, I cannot take this. That was like the first time I had spoke. And so they was like, are you okay? And I was like, no, I can't take this. I can't take both of them, going, I'm going to lose my mind. And so they was like, okay, well, we'll give you something. So they gave me 1 milligram of Ativan. That does nothing. I have a high tolerance for medication. So them giving me that literally did nothing. And the lady continued, the one guy stopped, the lady continued. So some time goes by, and I was like, hey, something's got to give. And she was like, oh, don't worry, you've got a bed at such and such. And I was like, we're going to say Apple Care. So she was like, you got a bed at Apple Care. And me again, not even present. I was like, okay, whatever. So I'm sitting there, and then next thing you know, another ambulance comes. And when the ambulance comes, they put me in there, and they're like, okay, we're going to take you to Apple Care. And I was like, all right, whatever. So they don't give me my bags, my belongings, the chain of belongings went from the EMS, the police officer, to the EMS to the nurses to the second step of EMS. And then when we got to Apple Care, there was an intake nurse that took my belongings. So now once we get to intake, once we get to Apple Care and it's time to go into the building, I'm gonna post a picture like right here, and it's what intake looks like. And it literally looks like you're getting ready to walk into a jail. And so I'm crying. I'm also crying because of the fact of just me being in my mental crisis, but I'm crying because it looks like I'm getting ready to go to jail. So the lady gets my belongings. The EMT hands over my paperwork, hands her my belongings. The lady takes a wand detector, see if I don't have anything metal. She takes me to a room. All of the girls, we ended up calling it a holding cell, but it's really a room. And it has a television, a glove seat, and a couch. That's it. And then you can go to the bathroom. You can keep the door open or closed, whatever you want. Then after that, they came in to talk to me. They was like, hey, do you want something to eat? And I was like, not really. They was like, you sure? I'll bring you something anyway. And so I was like, okay. So when I got it, it was literally like a wet sandwich. It was disgusting. An apple and some chips and some water. So I ate the apple chips and the water. Now, again, I don't have a clock. I don't have a watch. I don't have anything telling me what time it is, how long time is going by. The only reason why I know how long I was in the holding cell was because I watched 2 episodes of Family Guy, 2 episodes of American Dad, and then CW had the Star Spangled Banner going to signify that it was like the end of the network. And then after that, Jerry Springer came on, and I saw the first half. The first storyline of Jerry Springer. So that's about how it was. I don't know, maybe 1 hour, 2 hour, maybe about 3 hours I was in there, something like that. But by that time, I've become nauseous because the Ativan didn't work. I hadn't eaten. That apple and chips and all that stuff was gross. So I was like, I don't feel good. Like, what's going on? So the guy was like, oh, don't worry, come on. We have you a bed. We have a unit for you. So I'm like, okay, so I'm following him and I'm walking. And so I end up going into a unit. And so I'm just sitting there, and I'm going to try and show you guys my picture because they took a picture of us because we had to have wristbands. It's in black and white, but if you guys see me, I just look like an empty shell. Chris said that I looked like I was about to rob somebody, but to me, I looked like I was just like a zombie. And so I get on the unit. They like strip search me to make sure that I don't have anything that could hurt myself or others hurt me. I had on waist beads. I had to cut my waist beads. What else? Then they gave me, after they cut the tie out of my sweatpants, they gave me my sweatpants back, so I was able to put my clothes back on. And I was like, okay, well, I'm an insomniac. Can I have something to take to go to sleep? And they was like, oh, we don't give. By this time I found out it was 5:05 in the morning. They was like, no, we don't give any meds after midnight for sleep. And so I was like, okay. So they gave me like a plastic, an old-fashioned plastic, paper bag, and it had like my pillow, my toiletries, a notebook, and that was it. And so, and a pillowcase. So I got to my room, and my first room was in the overflow hall, which unfortunately the women's unit and the men's unit were connected by a hallway. And then the women's overflow was on the other side, on the men's side. So you had to walk through the women's unit, go through the men's unit, through their activity center, and then the overflow for the women was on that hall. I was the only one on that hall, so they had to have a nurse or whatever, a tech, sit there, and she had to watch me at all times because I'm like connected to the men. And so they was like, well, just try and lay down and see if you'll feel better, or see if you'll be able to take like a quick nap. And it was like, and don't worry, we won't make you come to all the different events and stuff like that, all the different meetings. We'll let you sleep through a few of them until you're ready to come up and come out. So I was like, okay. So I laid down, I tried to take a nap, and I'm at the door, and our door has to be open if you're in the room. And so when I look out as I'm laying down, I realize that this lady has fallen asleep. So I'm like, I can't go to sleep because I'm on the men's side. The men literally have access to me, and you're asleep. How am I supposed to feel safe? So I just laid there. I literally just laid there for a little bit. I think I ended up falling asleep for literally like a quick nap because I slept so light because I knew that I was on the men's side. So I think I took a quick nap. But what I realized was, as I was laying there, I realized that slowly but surely it was becoming quiet. Like my mind was becoming quiet. Granted, yes, you heard birds chirping, you heard people moving chairs, you heard people talking, but it just became really, 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 really quiet to me. So I laid down. So finally, I get up. I got a blanket wrapped around me, and I walk into the activity room for the women. And at this point, I'm still heavily, zombie-like, and I get hit, smacked with 6 beautiful women, and they were like, "Oh my God, hi, your hair is so pretty. I love your shirt. And are you okay? And welcome this and this, and they were just so sweet, but it was anxiety inducing, very, very sweet, but very much so anxiety inducing. And so I was like, thank you, hi, thank you, and so I'm just like sitting around, like they were coloring, someone was watching TV, some were doing puzzles, some were on the phone. And so I had missed breakfast in like the first 2 or so groups. So one of the nurses, she was so sweet. She was trying to get me to eat. And I was like, no, I don't want to eat. And she was like, she was like, I want you to just eat something. I was like, well, I eat a banana. So I ate the banana. And then I looked at the board. And on the board, it showed our schedule. When I tell you we had a rigid schedule that we had to go through, it was rigid. So it was like at 6:45, we had to wake up for vitals and self-inventory. That self-inventory sheet was stupid. It asked us how we were feeling, where we were feeling depressed. Did we have SI? They're asking us all these things about how we feel. But it's 6:45 in the morning. We just woke up. We can't tell you how we feel if we just woke up. Why wouldn't you guys ask? Like, we used to wonder, like, why not ask us that at the end of the day? That's more realistic of an answer. But whatever. So that was at 6:45. At 7:30 was breakfast. We had the same breakfast every day, and it was sausage, grits, cheese grits, or oatmeal, and toast or bread. That's it. Every day. So then we had groups. So it was vitals, breakfast, medicine. Then it was group. Then we had a break. Then it was another group. Then we had a break. Then it was time for lunch. Lunch was at 11 o'clock in the morning, which is breakfast. We had lunch. Lunch was different every day, so that was cool. Then after lunch, we came back and we had a little bit of time to like color and stuff and chill or do whatever you want to do, take a nap, whatever. And then the next thing was expressive therapy. And expressive therapy group was when we got to do something fun. So we got to play games, whereas the other groups were like more like with the therapists and the social workers talking about how we can cope and how we can do all these different things to improve our mental health or improve what it is that brought us here. The expressive therapy was like a little fun outlet for us. So like one time we got to go to the gym and play around, all this different stuff. And then one day we went outside and played Jeopardy. One day we went outside and danced. We just did a whole bunch of different things. And so Tuesday, so technically it was Monday that I went to the emergency room. It was, by the time it was Tuesday that I was in Apple Care. So now by the middle of the day, now I've started to go with the flow, talking with everybody. I had brought my, I was coloring and, just kind of staying to myself. I ended up seeing my doctor that day, and he goes on through asking all these questions, and he, finds out all my medication. And so he goes ahead and he prescribes my medication so that I can now take it when it's med time. And so, ironically, the day that I came in, those majority of the women that were there were getting ready to leave. So I got to go from the overflow hall onto the actual women's unit. So I love that. So by the time they left, I want to say Wednesday, I was still a little like zombie-like. But like I said, I had become really, really quiet. Like my mind had become quiet. I had become like peaceful, like I was at peace. Because it felt like I didn't have the world or my problems. I didn't hear any of this. Granted, the units weren't quiet. It was very loud. We were doing stuff. We would laugh. We would talk. We'd play games. So it was genuinely loud. But like for me in my mind, it was very, very quiet. It was like I had a piece going on about myself. And so by the time Wednesday afternoon came about, I became like the welcoming committee. Everybody laughed at me because I would see one lady come in that was new, and she was either crying or, you know, just scared or just nervous. And instead of bum rushing the way I got bum rushed, which is fine, I just walked up to him. I was just like, "Hi, you know, I'm Janae. You know, you can sit with me if you want to later on, whenever you like, at your pace." And so, like, some of them will respond back to me, and I'm like, you know, it's okay. We all cried. There's no judgment here. We're all here for a reason. We're all here, and we've all cried. We've all been in your shoes. So, you know, it's okay. And so they will go on about their day. Then they would come out to the activity room, and, you know, they'll try and sit off because we had chairs, and then we had like tables. And so, like, if I see them and they're like, if I would see them and they're kind of looking like they're engaged to trying to see, I was like, "Hey, you want to come sit with us?" Or if we were at lunch, and when we're at lunch or when we're eating in a cafeteria, either way, the men on one side and we're on the other side. And so, if you didn't like know anybody, you just had to sit by yourself. So I was just like, "Hey, you know, you want to pull up a chair and come sit and eat with us?" And so I literally became the welcoming committee until the day I left. And I met so many beautiful, beautiful women there. And it was just like, as the days went by, I just gained more and more peace. We would have different conversations, and there would be times where I would speak and just encourage others, and I love to encourage others. And they had this running joke. One of the ladies had this running joke of, I have to talk before Janae talks, because if Janae says something, it's gonna be great. And so I don't deal well with compliments. So it was one day where I had said two things, and it, you know, everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's so good." And I was like, "Oh, please, like, please don't compliment me." So one of my homegirls, Mal, shout out to you, Mal, she would, me and her were the polar opposites. So anytime I would say something good, she'd be like, "Ha, look at you doing good." And I was just like, and so then, if for instance, she'll say something that was good. Well, she will applaud me for if I said something good. However, if she says something good, then I'll do the same thing for her. And I was like, "Ha ha ha! Look, I'm rubbing off on you," because she was she persuaded her persona. I got tongue tied. Her persona was being like against everything, and it genuinely could have been hers. But she was a very, very much so sweet person. And so anytime I see her say something sweet, I'd be like, "Hi, look, I'm rubbing off on you." So, what else? I met so many people. I don't want to use everybody's names. Like my sister T, she came in, she was pissed. She was not happy. She was not having it. And so I greeted her, and I was like, "Hey, you know, whenever you get a chance, just come on." And so it was lunch, and I was like, "Hey, T, you want to come sit with us?" And she was like, and she came over, and we were talking. And next thing you know, me and her were like this. I was like, "Yeah, you can get rid of me. We're in this together." And so then I met it was 4 of us that we became really, really close. So shout out to Amanda Panda, Chris, T. Am I the 4th person? Hold on, wait. I just thought about something. Am I the 4th person? Oh, and D down in Augusta. Shout out to all my lovely sisters that were in Unit 4 with me. I know you guys been waiting for me to make this video since I've been out, but it took a while, so here I am. I wanted to make sure I got it done before the end of May. But I met so many beautiful souls. We had a lot of problems. We did have some problems, considering that we were in a mental hospital. There were problems. We did, you know, come across certain people that they were having a harder time than we were. But most of us, and a lot of people that was around me, we did the best that we could. Every group we had, we tried to take as much as we could. Every meeting we had, we tried to hear, you know, things, advice, encouragement from different angles, from different age groups, from different experiences. And literally, it was like every single day, I was just at peace. I was calm, took my medication. There'd be times where I make phone calls and somebody would say something to me, or it would just annoy me. So there were times, like, not to say that I wasn't good all the time. There were very much so times where I was down and I would cry, but it was like that's where that whole sense of community came in, because that's if it wasn't during group and I was sad, then I had these other ladies that I could talk to, and we could, talk ourselves, talk things out through ourselves. And so we had lovely texts. Like, I think they're MHAs with our texts. We love them. Shout out to Miss Robin and Miss Shay. Man, all of them. They were, and the social workers, they were so great. What else happened? Oh, then I had my babies. So I had the fruit. We call them the fruit. I named them the Fruit Loop. The cereal babies, because you had one. Her name was Applejacks. That's Mad. Then you had Fruit Loops. That's S, because I don't want to give her name. Then you had Applejacks, and that was Rye. Only reason why Fruit Loops it doesn't have like a name is because her name doesn't. I can't think of a nickname for hers. So Fruit Loop is S. So they were younger than me. They were substantially younger than me. But they would just like stick around and they would want to hang out. They were like, Miss Janae, this, and that. And we'll just sit and we'll color. When I tell you, the majority of the things that we did when we weren't in meetings, and even when we were in meetings, was either watch TV, and Charmed was the thing. It was either Charmed or Cheaters. We tried to put together puzzles. I didn't do it. They were able to put one puzzle together, and then we colored. They printed brand new coloring sheets for us every day, and we would all sit there and talk about everything in color. By the end of the day, we have probably colored maybe 3 and 4 sheets, like pictures. So I'll show a clip of like all the pictures that I've colored. What else? Oh, one thing that I absolutely loved that made my heart, I was so happy about, was my roommate and I. There was a time at the end, closer to the end of the night, where it was called reflection time. But basically what it was is we all had to stay in our room for an hour. So you could call it shower time or whatever, but we had to stay in our room for an hour so that the cleaning crew could come in and clean the entire activity room. And once it was cleaned, and once that hour was up, we could come back out. And so in the beginning, it started off with me and my, because I had my Bible. I had brought my Bible out to read sometimes in the activity room, and then I had it in my room. And so my roommate and she saw my Bible and she had her Bible. She was like, hey, do you want to, do you do like Bible study? I was like, yeah. She was like, do you want to read the Bible together? I was like, absolutely. So me and her ended up having like Bible study, because she came the afternoon. So if I got there, so if I was on the unit Tuesday morning, she came in Tuesday afternoonish. And so, it's like, oh, absolutely. So we would read, we would, pray, give our, find words that, find scripture that will encourage us, and just kind of talk about how we feel. And we would do that all the time. And so people would hear that we were having Bible study, and they was like, oh, we want to do it. We was like, okay, cool. We'll figure it out. We didn't necessarily want to do it during the daytime because it was really, really loud. So we was like, okay, well, so, we're trying to figure it out. So one day we did, it was my roommate and I, and one other person. And then next thing you know, the second to last, so the other one, it was 4 of us. Yeah, it was 4 of us. The last one that we did before I went home, there were 6 of us. Yeah, 6 of us doing Bible study. We went into the hallway. T, my sis T, she had wrote, she was like, do you have any scriptures? So I had given her the scriptures that I wanted us to go over, that was encouraging, that kind of applied to the situation that we were all in, to kind of lift us up. So I gave them to her, and she wrote them out on a piece of paper, and then one of our techs made copies so that we could all read along through it. And we all sat and we talked, and we we read it, and it was so good. My heart was so full of joy because we got to sit down and talk together, and I was able to be a part of that. I was able to help encourage and give words. Like, I really believe that there were times where the majority of the time the Holy Spirit was speaking through me, because a lot of the stuff that I said that was encouraging. I was just like, it just came out of nowhere, but it was so perfect for the time that we were in, or for the day, or for whatever group meeting that we were in. And I ended up coming up with this mantra, or this affirmation, I would say, while I was in the hospital, and it was, I don't owe anyone anything, but I owe myself everything. And that was about people pleasing, and being selfish for yourself and putting yourself first, because you can't pour from an empty cup. So it was so great to be able to find women that believe the same as I, and then for us all to come together in this moment, I guess you could say in a low moment for us, and we look up to our Heavenly Father for comfort, for encouragement. So that was absolutely amazing. And so literally every day in the hospital was the same. I'm drawing a blank. Hold on, let me see if I have it. Our schedule was the same. Let's see if I have it. I don't have it. Yeah, I don't have it. But our schedule was the exact same every day, every single day. Nothing changed except for, I guess, the episode of Charm and the pictures that we colored, or the topics. But everything else was very routine. So it was just different conversations. We had so many different conversations. None of them that I can say on here. But then Monday I woke up, because I got released on a Monday. Monday I woke up and I was just like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, I'm tired. It was just something in me that clicked, and I was just like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Not necessarily. And it wasn't that I was like ready to go home. It was like, it was just something in me that felt like my time was up. I was like, okay, I'm good. I want to go home now. And so, funny enough, my doctor came in and he was like, all right, you're going home today. Because initially I was supposed to go home on Tuesday. And so when he came in, he was like, it's based on your insurance. And so when he came in, he was like, no, we're going to send you home today. I've already started your paperwork. And I was like, yes. And so one of our ways of giving well wishes to anybody that leaves, we would draw a picture, or color a picture, and we'll give it to them. Like, that was our way of exchanging hearts and stuff, so that you can remember me once you go to your next venture, whether it's to another hospital, group, or facility, or whether you're going home. And we would give, color pictures, and then when it's time for go, you go, use your picture. So that Monday I got released. Mom came pick me up. I got home. Oh no, I went and got Hendrix, came back home, and I rearranged my room. It was like I needed to do something that was in my control. So I literally rearranged everything. I just needed something that something that was in control for me. And that was the hospital stay. And crazy enough, while I was in there, by the time, like I said, by the time Tuesday afternoon came about, until that Monday, about Tuesday evening to Monday I left, there was a sense of calmness. I was at peace. It was quiet. It was so quiet. And funny enough, I was praying the other day, and I was like, it was so weird how calm I was, and how peaceful it felt. That's why I called it a Grippy Talk vacation, because it just felt peaceful. Granted, we were talking, don't get me wrong, we were talking about heavy things, but I was at peace. And the scripture, the peace that withstands all understanding. The peace that passes all understanding. And I just feel like that's what it was, because I had a lot of women in the unit tell me that I was either going to be a motivational speaker. I was called to either be a motivational speaker or to be a minister. And I was like, no, I'm not called to be a minister. It's not my calling. I don't want to reign over other people. I was like, motivational speaker, sure. They was like, mentor, cool. But the preacher one, I was like, I get what you're saying, but that's I don't think that there's my calling. So when I was thinking about how much peace I had after I had gotten into the environment that I needed to be in, it was like I became at peace because words needed to flow from me. And in order for those words to flow, I needed to be calm. And so that's when I just heard this, just when I remember the scripture, the peace that surpasses all understanding. And that's the only way I can describe it, because I'm in the middle of a mental hospital. I've had a mental breakdown. I had to call 911, go to the emergency room. I've gone through this whole process. And for me to be sitting here coloring, having groups, talking about our feelings, talking about our problems, yet I'm at peace. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. But then when I got out and I was reading, I was praying, I was like, the peace that surpasses all understanding. And like Fantasia said, it was necessary. She says, I am who I am today because God used my mistakes. He worked it all for my good, like no one else ever could. But it was necessary. So after her being in the hospital, I got to come home, but I had to go to mandated group therapy, which I'm still in. And so I got one day, and that was that Tuesday, to just be at home, just stay at home. But Wednesday I had to report right back. So I got back on Wednesday. It was on Wednesday for the group therapy. Now it's mixed, it's co-ed. The structure and the dynamic is different. Luckily I did half day and not whole days. So I'm only there from 9 to 1. I'm 9 to 12:45. And we talk about different things. Like we check in, how are we feeling? Then we have psychoeducation. They teach you about different things, different ways you can cope, different mechanisms and different tools you can use. And then the last thing is process. The last group is process. And process is literally just that. If you have a feeling or if you have a problem, you can talk it out you process it by talking out and get help or feedback or anything from your group. I was hesitant. I didn't like it at first. There's still some parts of it that I don't like, simply because so far we've only done the same 2 techniques, and that's meditation and deep breathing. Neither one of those work for me. So if I'm in a crisis and you tell me to breathe, I personally am going to hyperventilate. You may get somebody else that can breathe and they'll calm down. That's just not me. And then meditating, I have ADHD. So if you cause me to just sit and just want to because usually they'll tell us to clear everything off your lap, put your hands on on your legs and put them down, and just listen to the person whatever video they're playing. And the problem is, for me, I'm not even thinking about it. As soon as you told me that I couldn't fidget, you've lost me. You've lost me completely. So it does not. That part isn't really helpful for me. Then when it's time to process or talk about talk about our problems, I've been there since the 17th today. Like I said, it's the 31st. I've only talked about my problems twice. So all I've been doing is listening to other people's problems, and not everybody's problems relate to mine. There are 3 people whose problems are very severe, and I cannot relate. The response of the coping mechanisms that are given to them, I can't relate to. So I literally just have to sit there and just listen. And vice versa. For them, what I may talk about or what advice may be given to me is not going to be applicable to them. So so far I try to get what I can out of it, but it's not that I'm not that big of a fan of it. I get the point, and it's like it's like what we were doing inside the hospital, was trying to get everybody's attention, trying to get everybody's point of view. But the problem is, outside of therapy, when we were in the hospital, let's say Amber said something, then I'd be like, oh, Amber, what I feel like you should do is you should try and work out for 20 minutes before going back into the conversation with the person you had an argument with. So we can say that in the hospital. However, when we're in group outside the hospital, you have to use I statements. So if I wanted to say the same thing, I would have to go, well, Amber, if I were in your shoes, then I would try to work out for 20 minutes, and then I would try to go back and continue the conversation. So you have to do that. And so it's kind of hard because if you're trying to talk, now you're having to change the grammar of your sentence, because you can't be talking at them. You have to talk using I statements, saying what I would do. So yeah, it's it's okay. Like I will say this, I learned way more things, way more coping mechanisms in the hospital than I did or am I getting now outside the hospital. And the crazy thing about it is the meetings, the group therapy is mandated. So if you miss more than 3 days, you have to start the evaluation all over again, your assessment all over again. And when it comes to assessment, that means you have to be taken back to inpatient. So you have to be committed again, and you have to start that process all over again. So you have to show up. So that's crazy. A crazy thing that happened, 2 people that were in the unit with me technically got committed against their will. And so basically they came up to ask for, like, to see if they had any like psychiatrists they could see, just to talk to, just like a, I want to say like an impersonal crisis line, I guess that's what they were looking for. And so Apple Care was like, oh yeah, come here, you can come with us, we're gonna put your stuff here, you can come with us. And then next thing they've been committed, and they had to stay. One of them had to stay 6 days. Well, no, she stayed about 5. And then the other one, she only had to stay for 2 days, 2.5 days. But that's because her significant other, he did what he had to do. He called the cops and was like, nah, this is kidnapping. Like, I know what she did. She came to ask if you guys could point her in the direction for mental health for help. And you guys took her and committed her. So I'm gonna need you to bring my girl back, or we're gonna have problems with the law. So that one was funny. But yeah, I feel like I learned so much more. I gained so many more tools in the hospital than I have in group therapy. I remain hopeful and optimistic. However, it's annoying. Like, I come home and I feel like there's a weighted blanket on my head because I'm so tired. Because I'm literally listening to other people's problems all day from 9 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. I'm listening to everybody's problems. I'm stretching. I didn't stretch more times in my life. Like, we're always stretching. We're always breathing. We're always meditating. It's redundant. So I will say when I first got there, I was annoyed. I was highly annoyed. My attitude showed. I didn't want to be there. But now I still don't want to be there, but now I'm just like, it is what it is. Like, I say what if I feel like there's something that I have that's good to say to someone, then I do it. Like, today, one of the guys, he had a question about how we execute compassion. Like, how would we execute compassion towards ourselves? And so he kept asking our leader, the leader of the group, and she wasn't answering the way he wanted it, like the way he comprehended. He's an older man he's older than I. And so I turned around and I was like, hey, do you remember when you said this, and this the other day? He was like, yeah. I said, well, think of it like that. Like, when we're in crisis, think about it as like a wet umbrella or a wet towel over our head. We don't necessarily think to do healthier things sometimes. Some people choose, or some people vices is to do something, not healthy when they're in that pace. And he was like, oh wow, that makes sense. Like, that was what I was looking for. So now I still don't want to be there. But now I don't have an attitude, or I'm not visibly like disturbed. I just, I go with the flow. And if I have something that I can offer for encouragement or help, then I do just that. And so since being home, since being out of the hospital, being home, it's been good. My phone is on Do Not Disturb. So because I was like, I had 8 days or 7 days in that hospital and my phone didn't ring. I didn't have anybody calling me. So I keep my phone on Do Not Disturb because I'm not going to let that stress me out again. I'm still working on work and trying to ease myself back into that. I'm not ready yet. I do not feel like I have the tools to get there yet. But I'm still working on that. And I'm trying to think, I will say this. I was upset because for my Grippy summer vacation, I wanted a BB&J and cinnamon applesauce, but I didn't get either of those. They didn't even have applesauce. They had Jello one time, but that was it. But yeah, that has been the month of May for me. And like I said, I wanted to make this video because I wanted to help others. Like, I love helping others. I love encouraging others. And again, mental health, especially in the community, the community of color, we don't talk about it. A lot of our parents don't believe in it. A lot of people like to tell us to just get over it, to, just be happy, just think happy thoughts. You're doing this for attention. A lot of people it's a lot of things that are said to people with mental health issues that are insensitive, and it makes us not want to talk about it, and it makes us want to just become a turtle and just kind of turn into ourselves. And the problem with that is that when you do that and you're in a crisis, that's how situations where we lose people come about, is because I'm having a crisis and I don't have anybody that I can reach out to, because you're telling me I'm dramatic. You're telling me I'm doing this for attention. You're telling me this, I need to just get over it. You're telling me I had a problem. Why can't I got over it? Why can't you get over it? So then they feel like they're alone. And when you feel like you're alone, what else do you have? You have only yourself and your mind, and your mind is your biggest enemy, to tell you the truth. Because a lot of times it is our mind that is imbalanced. It's our mind that's having us, having the disorder that we have. And I felt like I held my tongue for a long time because of my own fear of my family seeing it and what would they say. And I just had to get over it. I had to get over it because they can say whatever they want to say. They can call me and talk about it. They can tell me to take it down, but this is my channel, or try to tell me to take it down. But they need to be aware. They need to be educated as well. There are a lot of people with mental health issues that are in the dark, and they need somebody that they can trust. They need someone that they can talk to, that they can call when they're in crisis, call when they're in trouble. Because a lot of times when you don't have that, trouble comes, and sometimes trouble overcomes them. Sadness overcomes them. Grief overcomes them. And I always make this statement for the people who don't understand or don't want to believe mental health. If you can have a pill, if you can take a pill for everything else in your body, high blood pressure, you have a pill. High cholesterol, you have a pill. Diabetes, you have a pill. Gout, you have a pill. You can eat chemo. There's a pill or some type of medicine for everything. But people go blind to the fact that your brain is an organ, that you have hormones and chemical, like there can be a chemical imbalance in your brain. It's like they turn a blind eye when it goes to your brain. And they're like, oh, well, you can get over it. Not realizing, hey, the same way your hormones can be imbalanced, you can have a chemical imbalance in your brain. So I don't see how you can, I always say I don't see how you can take something for your diabetes but look down on me because I take medication to keep my mental in order. So I want this video to help someone. I want this video to encourage the conversation to be had, encourage people to find your foundation, find you somebody that you can talk to, find you a therapist, find you a psychiatrist, seek help if you know that you need help. I'm going to put the crisis phone number line here. But mental health is just as important as high blood pressure, heart disease, cancer. It's just as important. It's just as important. The only difference I would say is you have more people that support you when you're ill physically than you do when you are mentally ill. And the sad part about that is people grieve when they see you hurting physically, but you could be looking them dead in the eyes and you're hurting mentally, and they say nothing and think nothing about it. They look at you and move on about their day. But God forbid you try your hardest and you can't try anymore. Then they cry out and they try to figure out what happened. Why didn't I know? Well, I never saw the signs. You saw the signs. The signs were there. A lot of times you just don't pay attention to them. So I am opening my voice for mental health awareness, and I hope everyone that watches it opens their voice as well. Ask people how they're doing, and when you ask, genuinely listen to them, because a lot of times when you hear when they answer you, you can hear it. So genuinely ask people how they're doing. Give a person a smile. You never know how one good deed could save one person's life. Talk to your family members. Let go of that negative mindset. Let go of the stigma. And let's get better as a whole when it comes to mental health. Because if I'm not mistaken, at this point in time, it sounds like I'm so much older, but when I was younger, the idea of SI was not a thing in 2nd and 3rd grade. You have 2nd and 3rd graders, 1st graders, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Like, you're having kids that are struggling with mental health to the point where their mental health overtakes them. And parents are like, I don't know, I didn't know, and you just have to pay attention. Be intentional about the people you say that you love in your life. Be intentional when you say, hey, if you need me, call me. Do you ever realize a lot of people say that, but how many people mean it? So that concludes my Grippy Sock vacation experience. I'm not in the hospital anymore, but I am still tied to them because I am not getting ready to go through that process all over again. I wouldn't necessarily mind it, but I don't like meeting new people again, and I like my girls that I had with me, so I just don't want to do it again. But that was it. So shout out time. I'm going to try and give a shout out to all my girls without giving their names. So one, shout out to Unit 4. Bay, she was first lady. Shout out to Bay. Kiwi. Jenna. Who else? Mal. My cereal girls. Who else? I don't have my folder in front of me. Liz. Auntie, Miss Berry, who else? Kelly, Stacy. It was so many people. So shout out to all of the lovely women that I met on Unit 4. I don't want to see you guys again in that aspect, but I can't wait to see you guys again or reach out, because we all exchange numbers, but to reach out and to hear how you guys have triumphed and how you guys have been better and taking it one step at a time. And that's about it. Funny enough, I did have one lady who hated me. I found that out later on, but she literally hated my guts, and she wanted other people to hate me because people liked what I said. And I was like, you're old enough to be my mom. You're old enough to be my mom. Like, why do you hate me? Why are you literally trying to form a gang of let's all hate Janae? Doesn't make sense. But like I said, that goes back to the point of let your voice be heard. Because either way it goes, people are going to talk about you. So you talk about them. You can either keep your mouth closed and let them talk about you, or open your mouth and say what you got to say and live your life, and then let them talk about you. Either or. But that was it. May has really been a month of mental health awareness for me. So that's why I have on my green. And I hope everybody enjoyed this vlog. I hope that you take the words that I say seriously and reach out for help if needed. Again, I'm going to put the crisis line on the down here so that you can see it. Reach out if you need to. Talk to somebody if you need to. And if you feel like it's gotten to the point where you may be in danger to yourself or to others, seek treatment. You're not alone in this. No one's perfect. You're not broken. You're not anything that's negative. You're not. No one's perfect. We all have our problems. So do what you need to do. Whatever it is that you need to do, take time for yourself. Be selfish, purposefully with yourself, because you can't pour from an empty cup. So that's it for today. I will catch you guys in another vlog. I hope you enjoyed today. So peace.